Hi everyone, welcome back on my channel. In this video I'm gonna show you my 5 eyeshadow color palettes from Dior, and it is about my personal collection from Dior. I always love this kind of palettes and I started buying them I think in the 90s, yes, something like this. And during the time, unfortunately, I threw away many palettes, but I have some old pieces to show you. So this is not about ranking my favorite palettes, but it's about showing just what I own. I used to call my palette by name, and I think people thought I was a little bit crazy. So Dior is going to change and update its 5 colors palette collection. I think the new release is during this summer. So I really don't know if Dior will implement its range, or maybe the actual collection will be discontinued. But yes, there are new palettes next to come. So Chic Profile posted this preview from Dior, so I suggest you to have a look and tell me which palette would you like to see in action, so maybe I will buy it. I wanna start from the oldest to the most recent palette I have. So this is just broken pieces of Night Dust. It was number 7 and 19. Beautiful combination of grey, brown and black eyeshadow. In particular, this black had a little bit of shimmer, but very subtle, so you can't really see in the eyeshadow. And this was a kind of lavender grey color, very beautiful. White in the center and this gray and brown. So I really achieved a very classic look, and it made your eyes really bigger. So I used a lot of this black eyeshadow also as a liner, and yes, I completely love this palette. Then we have this palette. I think it was a spring collection, and I really don't remember the complete name. I know it was something that ended with Blossom. The name was completely gone behind, but I remember the name Blossom in this palette, and it was a beautiful symphony of apricot and cool pink shade. I used this palette for creating my makeup during a wedding where I was the makeup artist, but I used this palette for the makeup on myself. The shade in the middle was a beautiful ivory shade. I never found a shade like this. I think something very close, similar, but it was so pretty because it turned to rose gold also. And this palette was so particular because, you see, it has apricot shade, so very light, warm tones, and cool pink tones, but so light, so beautiful, because you really catch the difference of tones when you create your look. So I love it, and that's why I save it, I think. Then I wanna show you a beautiful trio. So for this trio, Dior changed its packaging because it was like this. Inside there was 3 different green shades, also with different textures. And I still think this kind of shades are the most beautiful green for my hazel eyes. So the packaging was so nice. To close it, you have to push it like this and close it. It was a Smoky Garden. Then, just about the Smoky, I got the Blue Tie palette. I don't know if you remember this palette. It was a great change for your collection. And Dior celebrates the shade blue that was very loved by Christian Dior. and it was the new black. It was also the time where smoky eyes started and became so famous. And there was also a lipstick case inside, so well protected. And this is where the shades. So the packaging is more close to the new bronzer case, for example. Shades were not so appreciated. I mean, they were beautiful shades and I love this palette, but people thought that they were too much similar. We have different textures. For example, the shade had a little bit of sparkling and the other shades were blue, something more grey, blue. Yes, pretty similar, but it was so beautiful to create a smoky eyes. It really was a palette about smoky, and it was not completely understood in my opinion, but I love it. Also the lipstick. The lipstick was so beautiful because it was a nude pink and it really combined with this kind of shade. I really love it. And then I have this palette from Dior. It has been bought in a duty-free airport, I think. It was a little bit destroyed because it was about 20 and 12, something, yes, like this. And I gave it to my child that was very little to play. He turned me into animals with this kind of palette, but it was beautiful. I mean, yes. It has lipsticks, eyeshadow and blush. You see, a little bit destroyed. I think it was a lip maximizer, the first. And then we had grey colors and ivory white highlighting shade and a blush. It was a Dior Glow Designer. Then this little palette, I think it was a Dior gift. I had two palettes like this and one I use it a lot. Instead this is the one quite untouched. It was nice. It has I think also lip maximizer, the first one, a beautiful fuchsia shade, and these beautiful eyeshadows. They were so nice to use. Do you remember this palette? I don't know if you are old enough. One of my favorite palette. Violet grey shade, so wonderful. I hope it will be re-promoted because it was such a great palette. When I see violet shade, I always think of a stylish move. Then we have Rose Porcelain. I think it was a limited edition, so I really didn't use it so much because it was a time when I was always ill. It has a beautiful symphony of light pink shades and a very beautiful soft grey that you really create very beautiful shadow with this. So let's move to the more recent collection. I have a beautiful small version of Undress. This was sold with mascara. So nice, small and pretty. This reminds me of a warmer version of Incognito palette. This is Magnify. It was such a modern version of Stylish Mauve, but we have this deep violet shade. It's a very, very nice palette. If you love blue, you can't miss Daffy. It's a very beautiful grey-blue palette. It reminds me a little bit of Blue Tie, but with more different tones, as you can see. And this is also in the permanent collection. Another pieces from the permanent collection is Adore, and I love this palette. It has this incredible silver shade, as you can see, so vibrant. This gold It's supposed to be like a topper. A beautiful copper palette is Hypnotize. 2 years ago, full collection if I don't go wrong, and there was also a lipstick with this eyeshadow to complete the look. I personally own this lipstick. It was such a beautiful and particular shade, and I love them together. So if you have hazel eyes, these colors are incredible in my opinion, because they have brown with copper undertones, a little bit of gold, very nice and pretty. Then we have Moonlight. This palette was so different because it had beautiful new kind of texture. They were just a wet effect. It was a Christmas collection. I bought the Cool palette because there was also a warmer one, and very pretty, very different. I think Peter Phillips started to disrupt your eyeshadow palette in a modern way. I mean, it was very refresh process. And this is a spring collection, and it is a Flirt, a pretty palette, in a way classic. I mean, it has this violet, grey, pink, light pink shade. The other one had a more bright fuchsia shade. It has a very cool tones, light blue shade and violet grey shade. So this beautiful logo. It was such a strange color symphony for autumn, but I love this palette. It was really pretty. And then this beautiful collection, it is Parting Color palettes. This palette was so peculiar, I couldn't skip. The most particular palette maybe that Dior released, it was for 2020. These eyeshadows are just a kind of fireworks. They have a very different color effect. They are so beautiful to melt together. They change their color. They have a sort of holographic effect. Then let's move to this very light pastel shade from latest spring collection. This Blue Beat from Glow Vibes collection. It is a nice color combination, but it's very light, and it is supposed to be so. Sometimes people think that palettes are not pigmented. Instead, it's just a sort of very light pastel, a wash of color look, I mean. And so you have to love pastel tones for appreciating this palette. And this is the last palette I bought. It's from Color Games Summer Collection. It is Dive. There is another palette, warmer with orangey tones, but Dive catched my attention. I love these colors, they are so bright and pop. I love for summer look. So when these eyeshadows seem not so pigmented, I suggest you to try to use the sponge. So thank you for watching. I hope this Dior journey was nice to see. So I hope this video could be helpful for you. If it's so, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me also on Instagram. See you soon. Bye!